I was so excited to get my shipment from Last Bottle Wines in the mail the other day, full of incredible red wines, all from Napa Valley. I love wine tasting, so having this to my door couldn't be happier. Also, couldn't be more excited that today's episode is brought to you by Last Bottle Wines. If you don't know already, they're a Napa-based online wine shop with a twist. They offer just one handpicked wine per day until it sells out, and they're always at incredible prices. We're talking 30 to 70% off retail. And the best part is that there's no subscriptions, no fees, and no minimum purchase. And I could not be more excited to bring this offer right now because they're having a marathon sale, which is coming up March 28th and 29th. Even better, we're offering Dateable listeners 10% off your first order with code DATEABLE. So if you are a wine lover like me, this is a great time to join. And did I mention that shipping is 100% free? So what are you waiting for? Mark your calendar for March 28th and 29th, or get on it earlier if you want. You can sign up at lastbottlewines.com and use code DATEABLE and find out why Last Bottle is the most fun way to discover and buy amazing wine. We are so thrilled to be partnering with Hinge. Hinge is the dating app designed to be deleted. As you all know, I'm a huge Hinge advocate as I met my partner of almost 3 years on the app. Even before meeting him, Hinge was always my go-to app because I met more relationship-minded people here and had some great dates. Clearly, I haven't been on the app for a little while, but I re-downloaded it to check out some of the new features. One that stood out to me was the voice prompt, my best friend's take on why you should date me, where your friend can hype you up. Not only does this make the profile creation less daunting, but it's not always easy to see your own green flags. So to test it out, I asked Yue some fun prompts to get her take on what I could put if I was dating again. So the first one, how long have we known each other? What was your first impression of me and how has that changed?
Julie and I have known each other for almost 10 years. My first impression of Julie was that she's very social, but I've learned that she has a lot more depth to her beyond the social butterfly that she is.
My next prompt, what do you think are my green flags?
I would say she's deeply loyal. She believes in love, curious mindset, and she is fearlessly ambitious.
And then last but not least, what kind of friend am I?
Julie is the kind of friend who will always have your back, no matter what.
Damn, that feels nice to hear. So download Hinge and try voice prompts today. Then find someone worth deleting the app for.
Hola, amigos. We are back for lucky number 7. Now, in season 6, we exceeded 1 million listens thanks to you guys. Also, we were listed as one of the best relationship and love podcasts by Brit & Co., in addition to making the list for Huffington Post, BET, and more. This season, we'll be bringing you more of what you love, as well as some awesome sponsors with special offers just for Dateable listeners. So don't forget to check out our website, dateablepodcast.com, and follow us on social media to get the latest updates and announcements on upcoming happy hour and social events. Now, due to the success of last season, we will be continuing with our coaching services, and we just added some new coaches as well as licensed clinical psychologists and therapists. And of course, it's all about the content, right? So in season 7, we continue to open up the conversation about modern dating with topics such as changing gender roles, how race plays into dating, and also some hilarious dating stories. And on top of all that, we continue to expand to include more international perspectives, all to show you that you're not in this alone. All right, enough from me. Let's get on with the show.
The Dateable podcast features real stories from real people of how they make modern dating work, or not. I'm your host, Yue, former dating coach turned dating insider, if you will. On each episode, you'll hear commentary from my producer, Julie Krafchick, and other surprise co-hosts.
This episode of Dateable is brought to you by 500 Brunches. 500 Brunches connects like-minded people with similar interests to meet in real life over brunch. You answer a quick questionnaire about your interests and how you spend your time, and then they'll match you in small groups of 6 to 8 at a brunch spot in San Francisco. Get a free entry into a brunch now by signing up at 500brunches.com and using the code DATEABLE.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating. You guys reached out to us and told us that you like the He Said, She Said episodes, so we're bringing one back for you. Except I was not the dater this time. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
A more objective.
Objective, yes. I'm out of the hot seat. But we have our bachelorette here. It's like the Bachelor!
It is.
Our bachelorette's name is Shelby. She's 30, originally from Monterey Bay, and she's been in San Francisco for 7 years. She's currently, well, as far as we know, single and actively going on dates. I don't know now.
You don't know what happened after these dates.
So Shelby first came to us and she had no idea she was going to be set up on 2 dates. But her original email, let me just briefly read this real quick. She said, I have lived in San Francisco for almost 7 years. You were in an off and on open relationship with a guy abroad
Yes.
in Australia.
Australia, yes.
That gave me the freedom to date, have fun, and not fully care about where things were going. I could have my cake and eat it too. The next 2 years I spent trying to get over this relationship, that's dating, to just make myself feel better, but I still was not emotionally available. And now that this relationship has fully ended, I'm at a time in my life that I'm trying to navigate dating and care about the other person. And as you know, it's hard in this city. So I feel my evolving dating perspectives experiences throughout these 7 years are relatable to many SF residents. And I have some awesome stories to go with, from a guy smelling my hair on the first date to me showing up on a first date with a guy already wasted, then offers me cocaine in the bathroom. I feel like I've seen and heard it all. But no, she hasn't, because she's never gone on dates with 2 guys and had to talk about it on a podcast. So here's the first for everything.
Shelby.
Cheers.
First time for everything.
Nice. Okay. Before we get into the dates, let's talk about just sort of your overall dating experience. You don't have to go into specific stories, but
Okay.
where's your head at?
I have dated a lot. I would say my friends would call me a good dater. I go on a lot of dates. I go on a lot of first dates. I put myself out there. I make time for dating, which I think a lot of people don't do. But I never really get past just the dating phase. So I'm really good at dating, not so much good at relationships. I never get to that point of being in a relationship with someone.
And was
That
your
makes
last
sense.
relationship that open relationship?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Last serious relationship.
And I remember when we talked on the phone, you mentioned you don't have trouble meeting people.
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
So
can we hear a
men
little
approach
bit-
you all the time. First of all, Shelby's very striking. You've got this like curly blonde hair, and you obviously have this personality that just draws attention.
Yes. I'm easy to find in a crowd. But I do think, it helps me to meet a lot of people. I'm also very outgoing. I work with people all the time. I'm just a really big people person. Yeah, meeting people is not that hard for me. So I do get dates, but it's that crossover from dating to relationship that I think I struggle with.
What do you think has been the problem then? Well, first of all, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a serious relationship?
At this point in my life, yes.
Monogamous
And
or open?
monogamous. And it's taken me a while to get there. I think like a lot of people were very career driven. I've been in school for a while. I'm very content with my career now. I really like San Francisco. I've decided I want to stay here and I would like to continue a life here with someone else, with a partner. And I think...
Put down some roots here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, okay, what do you think is happening? What are your friends telling you? Shelby, this is why your this dating hasn't been taken to the next level of relationships.
Everyone just says I haven't met the right person yet.
Okay.
Some people say I'm too picky.
Do you think that's true?
I don't know.
Has there been circumstances where you date someone for a while and you want to take it to the next level and they don't?
Yes.
Okay. And what has been that discussion like?
And ultimately, it was more the idea of the person than the actual relationship that I wanted, I guess.
Who's at fault here? Who do you think is at fault here? Let's just put some blame. Is it the men you're meeting or is it you?
I think it could go both ways.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm not at fault here at all. I've also really enjoyed being single.
Yeah.
So, and I like being single. I'm very independent. So there's probably a big issue with that trust factor and crossing over to the relationship, whereas the dating is very casual. I can still really focus on me.
What makes your situation unique is right now you feel like you're dating a lot, but you can't take it to the next level, that's not a unique situation. A lot of people feel that way. I go on date after date after date. What does make it unique is that most people would say, I have a hard time meeting people in real life. You know, I'm just doing the online dating thing. But you have no issues with meeting men in real life. In fact, you can meet them pretty much anywhere, anytime. So maybe by going on these 2 dates that we set you up with, we can get to the bottom of this, why this is happening. And the reason why Julie and I set you up on 2 different dates, not because we want you to pick. It's not like really the Bachelorette style. Although we do want to know if you have a preference.
I have my rose ready.
We do still want to hear a preference, but also just what men think of the date. Like, how did it go? And of course, what you thought of the dates too. So who should we start with? Should we start with Matt?
Yeah, let's start with Matt.
Yeah. Okay. So here's Bachelor number 1. A little description of him. His name is Matt. He's in his early 30s. From California. He's been in San Francisco for 9 years. Single and actively going on dates. He's a filmmaker / comedy writer, outdoor enthusiast, and self-described weirdo.
That's not us describing him.
Yeah, that's him describing himself. Walk us through that date.
Yeah, what was like, I know you had an impression of him before the date and then
you saw a picture of him.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him. Very cute, but not totally my type. I have a very specific looks type. 100%.
Apparently, you're only into redheads and blondes.
Tall redheads. All my friends think it's hilarious. I just really like tall gingers.
What's the population size?
Maybe that's Ireland.
Maybe that's the problem.
I've dated quite a few here.
You probably dated all of them.
Yeah. You haven't met the right person yet because there's 5 of them.
And they're all related.
Okay, we solved the issue.
Okay, done. Okay, let's just drink.
But yes, Matt, cute, was not exactly my type looks-wise, but I'm trying to be open-minded and keeping my options open. So we ended up going to a bar in Hayes Valley. It was good. He was like running a little bit late. I lived pretty close, so we were in good communication. And I'd say as far as like in the bar, it was good conversation. There's a couple like awkward silences, but I felt our quality of conversation was pretty good. He's lived in the city for 10 years, which I liked. He's really into Burning Man, which I like as well. Yeah, it was fun. And he had interesting questions and he has a pretty interesting job. He's a filmmaker. Just seemed like very creative. I'm not super creative. I'm kind of like books, science minded. And so I wasn't so sure about that.
I'll pause you there for a sec
Yeah.
because when we talked to Matt, he said one of the first impressions he had of you was that you were very easygoing because he was running late from unloading some Burning Man stuff. So he was dusty when he showed up. But he did mention that Shelby seemed really cool with the fact that I was running late and wasn't pissed off by it.
Yeah.
So it's okay when guys are running late on dates, as long as they tell you.
Yeah, okay. I don't mind. California, I feel like everyone's
And what
late.
was it, like 10 minutes?
Yeah,
too?
but
If
then
it was
he
like
wasn't
2
actually
hours, right?
late.
Yeah.
Like I waited
Yeah.
about 10 minutes because he said he was 10 minutes late, and then he was still there before me. So then I was like, I'm the late one.
He's very punctual.
He's very
But I think
punctual.
it's communication. If you don't let someone know, then that's when they get pissed off.
Yes.
Exactly. So yeah, it didn't matter. I mean, if he was going to be an hour late, I would have been
Yeah, a little
okay.
Right. So the conversation goes well. You find out he's a little bit creative on the creative side. And let's go fast forward to an hour and a half into the date.
Actually, this is funny. I went to the bathroom and 2 of my friends were at the bar. Like 2 of my best girlfriends.
Did you plant them there?
No, I didn't. I told them I was going out in Hayes Valley. And then I was like, what are you guys doing here? And so we ended up chatting just real quick. And I was like, they're like, well, how do you think it's going? And it was really funny because I was like, all about like me, like, do I like him? Like, and then my friend was like, well, do you think he likes you? And I was like, I don't know. So I think I was just like a little nervous about, all cut up in my head about like what I want, that I need to focus more on also kind of, is it reciprocated type of thing, which I thought was interesting.
And physically in the pictures, he wasn't physically your type. But when you saw him in person, did that impression change?
I think he's cute. He's still not exactly my type.
Okay.
But if I met him at a bar and started talking to him, I'd be like, oh, this guy's cute.
You're attracted
Yes,
to him.
okay. That's it.
And when your friends asked you if you were into him, what did you say to them?
I said I didn't know.
Okay.
Still,
Okay.
I was still kind of, and we were still, I think, and this is something interesting that I've gotten from your shows and stuff, just sitting at a bar kind of interviewing is just kind of a difficult way to get to know someone. So we decided to leave the bar, and there's a really cool Burning Man structure that they put up in Hayes Valley, which was there one year that he was there, but not when I was there. So we went and checked that out. So that was fun. And then it was the Friday night that it was super hot out. So it's San Francisco and it's actually warm. Everyone's
That's the
outside.
best.
And we were in Hayes Valley, and there's like a rooftop party. And this is where I kind of like, he was like, we should go up there. And I was like, yeah, we should. Because I'm that type of person too. And when he said that, I was like, we're going to get
Because
up
this
there.
is a private party.
Yes, it's
that
a private
you guys
party.
Were not invited
It was
to.
not like an open party. It was definitely like invite only. There was like a sign like buzz this number, like you need to know someone. But I mean, it was really easy. We just kind of walked right in and no one said anything. And we just kind of went along with the group, and it was super fun. So I felt like that kind of helped loosen things up, just to get out of the bar, walk around, talk, kind of intermingle with the world a little more.
And have a bonded experience of
Yeah.
crashing a party.
So
Yeah.
how were you feeling about him at this point?
That's when I was like, okay, I like this guy. I
Okay.
could see things going further, or I would go on a second date with him. When it was just at the bar, I was still contemplating, like, I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And what happens at the party?
We get drinks.
Oh, it gets good.
We just become a part of the party, like we know everyone, but we really didn't talk to anybody else. And yeah, we just had a good time, chatted. It was a really cool view of Hayes Valley. Danced, kissed.
Yay! I was just waiting for that. But according to Matt, you guys were kissing a lot. I would go as far as to say you guys were making out.
Yeah.
Okay, so pretty good date.
Was it hot?
Yeah.
Was it hot making out?
I mean, it was hot and hot.
It was hot and
It was
hot.
all of the above.
Did you expect this was going to happen even like an hour before?
No, which is really interesting. Like how if you get out, I think, into different elements, you really get to see different sides.
Yes.
So you mentioned that obviously you liked his creativity and like all of that. Was there anything else that you like just really liked about him?
He's relatively easygoing.
Okay.
I guess like I feel pretty comfortable with him. I feel pretty comfortable around most people, but I don't feel super nervous, which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Because sometimes when you feel super nervous around people, you get like those butterflies, which it's still very new. But yeah, just easy to talk to. I feel comfortable around him. I think by that point, I knew that he liked me back. So I was a little bit more comfortable and kind of let my guard down. Because I know in the beginning, I was definitely
Yeah.
not sure.
guarded.
So did he say anything, or was it like the kiss that you were like, okay, he's into me?
I think when we were like dancing.
Okay, you got the
'cause,
vibe.
I mean, it was like, you dance far apart and then you get a little closer and then
And this is
start
actually
making
just
out.
really good feedback from Matt in general, because I've never met Matt in real life, but from the little interaction we had with him on the phone, he was really hard to read. This guy, I'm not sure, like what's he trying to say here? But then towards the end, I was like, oh, okay, got it.
And that might have been the same type when my friends asked me, well, does he like you? And I was like, oh, I don't know. 'Cause
Yeah.
I do feel in the beginning he was a little hard
But
to read
sometimes
as
people
well.
just have to like warm up a little also. So it could just be that situation.
Were there any red flags?
No, nothing really like stood out to me. He was a good communicator. We had fun. Gave me a kiss before he left. I texted him after, like probably about like an hour later, just saying that I had a good time. Thanks for taking me out.
And that's not the end. Because
No, that is
we
not
know
the
there
end.
is a ... to this.
Or
Do tell.
1.5,
Or
as he
1.5
mentioned.
date. Yes.
Oh,
Matt
yes.
said as a 1.5 date.
That's a good, yes, it would be a 1.5 date. He's on vacation for like the next 10 days. So I was impressed that he made it a point to see me or try to see me one more time before he left. He actually wanted to go out on Sunday night, which was my second date. So I actually completely lied and told him I had dinner plans.
Oh, we told him. But okay. Hilarious.
Well, I just said I had dinner plans.
Hey, it's juggling multiple men.
You know, it's a rough life.
But we ended up having, a short coffee date. He took a break from work and I was in the mission. So we made it a point to see each other one more time.
Nice.
And
So you're saying he reached out to see you again?
yes.
Because according to Matt, you were the one that
No,
initiated.
he said that you seemed disappointed to hear he'd be gone
right.
for a while.
Oh,
Yes.
did I?
Yes, and that's what
Oh.
compelled him to want to see you again.
Oh, I didn't know I gave him that notion, but
Okay.
Well, maybe you liked it more than you thought.
I don't know if I need to ask this question, but would you go out with Matt again? He comes back in a week and a half, I believe.
yeah. He's gone for work and he's going to a bachelor party
Oh.
and then he'll be back. So yes, I would go out with him again.
And do you plan on keeping in contact with him while he's on vacation?
We've texted a few times, but not since he's been gone.
Okay.
So
Okay.
maybe.
All right. Okay.
But he did make a point to say he was like
going to be really busy.
tied up. Yeah.
He wasn't going on vacation. He's going somewhere for
For
work.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work
Yeah.
work first.
So on a scale 1 to 10, 10 being the best date of your life, how would you have rated the 1.5 dates you went on with Matt?
6.
Oh, okay. Why 6?
I mean, it was really fun. We did something different, but I mean, as far as all overall dates, it wasn't like mind-blowing. I would put like some dates up higher where like we've done like extravagant things or something a little bit more crazy but I'd say that's a good rating from me.
So here's what Matt said.
Yeah, the date went really well. I really liked her smile and her warm, charismatic personality, I'd say.
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a great date, best date, how would you have rated your first date with Shelby?
I'd say it's up there, like an 8 or something.
Wow.
I don't think I've had a 10, but I certainly see it continuing. I want to see her again. So.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
Is there anything else that you would think that Matt would have said about the date?
I felt like I was pretty reserved in like the very beginning. I think it took me a while to really like let go and open up, and that's just, I think, kind of how I am, especially on a blind date.
Okay.
Do you have any feedback that he said?
So here's what Matt said.
I got the sense that she's somebody that keeps herself busy because she doesn't have a lot that she likes doing on her own, like creatively or even just sitting with herself. She seemed like somebody that never wants to be alone. Funny enough, at the end of the day, she brought it up at some point and just said, like, yeah, I like being around people. I never liked being alone or doing my own thing. And so that was just interesting. Not a red flag, really, just something that stood out. I'm, in my life, trying to focus more on sort of soul-fulfilling things. And for me, that's projects, meditation, things like hiking, a lot of solo activity, and what I saw in her was that she doesn't really do those things. It's just something that kind of jumped out to me, not a deal breaker.
That was interesting because when we had coffee, we were kind of talking about this, and I agree with him. I like to be around people all the time, but maybe I do have my alone time. I do sit and read a book. I do like doing that. Sometimes I like sitting and reading a book in a cafe, but it's like my time, even though people are around. I do think he has way more creative outlets than I do. But he does seem a little more introverted than me as well. But I don't think that's a horrible thing in a relationship, having one person be
not at all.
the extrovert and one person be more introverted.
And it just means that you two have very different definitions of what alone time means. You could be alone around other people. His alone time is alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Good
Okay,
point.
that's very interesting. It's interesting that he picked up on it and then you guys discussed it on your date.
Yeah.
People are have very strong feelings about what being alone means and what independence means. All right, let's get to Beau, your second
Bachelor
date.
number 2.
Bachelor number 2 for our bachelorette Shelby. His name is Beau. He's in his mid-30s. He's from many places, but most recently Indianapolis. He's been in San Francisco for 9 weeks, single and actively going on dates. A little bit about him. He got his dream job and just recently moved to the Bay Area. He's lived abroad for 8 years, most recently China. He loves also outdoor activities and just being open and exploring a new city. Sunday. Take us through Sunday, Shelby. In the morning, you have your 0.5 date with Matt. Yes. And then you're about to meet Beau, and you've seen his picture too. So what did you think of him from his photos?
A little bit more my types on the looks wise.
Yeah, I remember you were excited about him.
But he's not blonde or a ginger.
No, but he's cute.
Okay.
I mean, they're both cute. So Sunday, same thing. We ended up like confirming, and I think he was on time. I can't remember now. He was there. He was there before me.
Yeah, he's always early.
Yeah. And he seemed to not really have very much information at all because
Nope, I did not show him a picture of you at all.
Okay.
So he had no idea.
Okay, so I didn't know that because I figured, because Matt saw a picture, that I figured that Beau did. So he just kind of told me what he was wearing, and I was like, cool, I'm the girl with blonde curly hair. And so when he saw me, he was like, oh, because it made sense, because I think he was a little nervous, and I was like, no, like, I have blonde curly hair. Like, I stick out.
And this is what Beau said.
That's actually really funny because I said, I was on my way and I was like, oh yeah, dude, this is a blind date. I was like, oh, I'm going to be the guy wearing the fantastic blue jacket, by the way. And she says, okay, I'll be the curly blonde. When she arrived, I was like, oh yeah, there's no mistaking that. I mean, I'm talking Goldilocks, curly blonde, a fantastic head of natural blonde hair. So I completely understood her description as soon as he walked in. It was a dead ringer.
So he was like very nice, very approachable, went and grabbed drinks. Then we sat down in the back of the bar. We went to Brass Tacks in Hayes Valley. And same type of thing, kind of interview, bar, drinks type of thing. I felt our conversations were a little bit more just general. He kind of avoided a lot of things.
Oh,
like
really?
I was trying to get more about his job, and he didn't seem to really want to talk about that. So I didn't even find out what he did till like towards the end of the date, when I distinctly was like, so what do you do? But that was towards the end. I mean, we talked about my job. I love my job. I like talking about it. It's a little overwhelming for some people.
You want to tell us what you do so our audience knows?
I'm a physical therapist, but I specialize in burn therapy. So I work at the burn center at St. Francis. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of heavy stuff. I'm not always in that unit, but it's kind of where my passion is. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that also makes people feel a little uncomfortable, but I think it's something that's very unique to me and that I really take pride in.
Right. Yeah.
So we talked about that, but we never really, in the first hour or so, never got to what he did.
Very surface level.
Yeah. But at the same time, I felt like he was trying not to. Like, he was like, I don't want to talk about work. Like, trying to...
circumventing all these questions.
Yeah.
So what did you guys talk about?
I don't even know.
This is what Beau said.
You know, one of the things that I realized, she almost didn't ask any questions about me.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of people ask the requisite questions, like what do you do and why are you here? But I was interested that we're probably 2 hours into it before she's like, wait a second, like what do you do? Or she'd follow up with something I'd said a while ago. Didn't seem to inquire about any of the things I was saying or adding to her own story. So I added a lot to hers and asked a lot of questions. If I'm remembering correctly, she did not pull a lot out of me or ask a lot out of me.
Okay.
But maybe that's because I was talking enough already. I don't know.
That's very interesting because I know I tried, because that's something that distinctly set in my mind, because I felt like he was trying to be roundabout to have a deeper, what I was getting at, that he was trying to have more of a deeper conversation, but it just didn't really go anywhere. It was kind of superficial talking where there wasn't much depth to it, I guess.
That's super fascinating to me, because one, I know Beau personally, and he's always like, I don't like to lead with what I do, because first of all, I have to explain what I do, and then it sounds like I'm bragging when I do tell people what I do. So I don't like to lead with work. But I do find it interesting that he thought that you didn't ask him any questions about him, and you were just giving him really good responses to whatever he was talking about, but didn't throw it back at him.
It's very interesting. I feel like I read people pretty well, but also like in my job, like I try to make people feel as comfortable as they can. And I also was trying to ask him about, because he had lived abroad, and there was so many, and I love traveling, and there were so many times where I was like, wait, so where were you living? Like, what were you doing? And he would kind of be like, oh, well, we'll get to that. Or like, it was one of those things where I just kind of felt that some of my questions got pushed off, which is kind of interesting.
That he felt that you weren't asking questions.
Because I don't actually like to talk that much. Like I always try to do the, like, they always say, like, make sure it's like a 50-50 conversation, which I try to stay aware of.
That is fascinating.
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
he thought that you guys had one thing in common, which was you both moved to a different country for someone. So he said he had moved somewhere for someone, and you moved to Australia for that guy. And you guys bonded over that somehow. Possibly. Or maybe not.
Shelby's like, I don't know if we bonded, but maybe we had a conversation. I remember.
Let's rewind.
I don't even remember.
Let's rewind. Do you remember your first impression of Beau when you met him?
Yeah.
Okay, what was
like
it?
right off the bat, I knew he was not my type.
Why?
I can't put my finger on it, but I felt like he was kind of all over the place. I mean, first impression, I guess, just, I don't know. It just didn't click for me. Like, I was like, he seems nice, but there wasn't any physical attraction. There really wasn't anything that was like if he came up to me at a bar, I would like say hi, like, and talk, but then I'd just be like, okay. I don't know.
But I wonder what it was, because this is what Beau said.
Well, chemistry is a funny thing. It's a hard thing to describe. It's kind of something that you have an attraction to someone or you don't. I didn't get any of those signals from her, and her body language didn't signal that, because that's something that I try to pay attention to. How are they sitting? How are they facing you? Are their hands on their legs away from you? Are they towards you? Are they in an open body position when they're speaking to you? But when you meet somebody on a blind date, it's great to have the initial contact and meet somebody, because no matter what little texting you're having back and forth or how funny you think that person is in text, if you meet each other, you don't have any chemistry. You don't have any chemistry. And you know what? That's okay. So I wasn't hurt, because I was kind of feeling the same thing. Oh, you know what? All right.
He's correct.
Okay. All right. So what happened? Okay. So you guys are at brass tacks having this sort of like conversation, but not really having a conversation. But I know you guys went to a second location. Why was that?
It's time to take a quick break so we can tell you about our current sponsor, Lola. Lola is a female-founded company offering a line of organic cotton tampons, pads, and liners. And now they offer sex products too. It was super easy to get the Sex by Lola line delivered right to my door. And you know how so many condoms promise to be ultra thin and lubricated? Well, these condoms definitely lived up to its promise. And the best part? For every purchase, Lola donates feminine care products to homeless shelters across the U.S. Choose your mix of products, number of boxes, and frequency of delivery. You can also change, skip, or cancel your subscription at any time. The Sex by Lola line is available for a one-off purchase, or you can add to your subscription. So everything is conveniently delivered on your ideal schedule. Now, here's an exclusive offer for Dateable listeners. You can get 40% off all subscriptions. Just visit mylola.com and enter the code DATEABLE when you subscribe. That's spelled DATEABLE. Now, back to the show.
But I know you guys went to a second location. Why was that?
I was trying to keep an open mind. Red flag, he's only lived here for 9 weeks. That was something that kind of put me off. Not that that's a totally bad thing, but
why?
I've lived here for 7 years. I kind of want someone that also has roots here or is planning on... A lot of people come here and leave. A lot of people come for a little while and go, or
it just seemed like he's just on a different wavelength.
Well, especially because he has lived like in so many different countries too. It's not like, it's probably that plus just being here 9 weeks. It's not like he has family here or something.
How committed is he to San Francisco?
Yeah, and that's, I think, just an overall kind of yellow flag for guys that I've met, and they're like, I just moved here. And it's just like, I don't want to be your tour guide.
I get it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you guys go to a restaurant, though. Okay, tell us about that.
Well, he was hungry, and my friends all work at a restaurant that was right next door. It was slow, so we went there, and it was fun. Like, he seems like a great guy to like hang out with. I don't see any type of relationship, but like a friendship. He was really nice. He is very interesting. But the one thing is I do feel like he was kind of all over the place. And that could be from like being new and like living in different countries. But I kind of couldn't. I was trying to get like a chronological order out of his kind of past, and I could not piece things together. And I was actually kind of surprised. Like, he looks young. After talking to him for a while, I thought he was almost younger than me, and it's actually he's older than I thought, which I thought was interesting as well.
Okay, that's good feedback for Beau as well. Just so everyone has a little background what Beau does, so he's not like a mystery man. He is he's in the entertainment industry. He hosts for a show called The Cash Show, which is a live streaming trivia game show, and the company I work for now hired him as a full-time host, which is sort of his like dream job. And he gave up his life in Indianapolis and the traveling abroad and living abroad to come to San Francisco and commit to this job. So it's really his passion to be here, and he wants to make it work.
Interesting.
But I think it's disappointing that passion didn't come through on the date, because it's almost like he didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it was interesting. And I mentioned this when I was talking to some of my friends after, and I was like, I couldn't even figure out what he did till like the end of the date when I had to point blank, like, so what do you do? Are you going to tell me what you do? Like, I remember having to say that.
It's like pulling teeth.
I mean, I get it, because it's like sometimes people don't want to talk about work, but
I totally
also
get that.
feel like
I understand.
But if you just keep avoiding it, then it almost like raises more red flags of what is going on. Like, if you just addressed it right away and was like, change the subject, I think maybe it would have sat different.
Yeah.
I feel like I can totally relate to Beau on this, because what I do in my past, it's like it's too convoluted for me to explain on a first date. So I tend to just go the simple route, like, oh, I live in San Francisco and I work for a company. Like, that's all I say. And then I can see how that would come off as like, just kind of like you're avoiding questions. But Beau is like fluent in Mandarin Chinese. He has amazing language skills, and he has like a very interesting past. But you didn't get to see any of that because you were just like, why is he avoiding my questions?
Kind of.
Wow. And he's like, she's not asking me anything.
I know.
Which is the crazy part. Okay, but what did you like about Beau? What were some of the things that you liked about him?
He was definitely a gentleman. I think he was easy to talk to, but like there was no awkward silences, which was kind of interesting. Because I'll just compare, because like with Matt, there was awkward silences, but I felt like the overall depth of the conversations were stronger. Whereas with Beau, like we talked the whole time. We just talk. But obviously
know
none
what
of
any
us
of it
knew.
was.
We can't remember anything that we talked about.
But when you say depth, what does that mean? How deep did you go with Matt?
Well, no, I think more just on like relatable things. I think Burning Man was like a really big factor, and like our experiences there, because that is such a special connection that you just have with people.
Good bonding moments.
Yeah.
I guess those bonding moments translated into in-depth moments where you felt like you were getting to know someone on a deeper level. I think this is actually good learning, because Beau felt like you guys had some points of commonality that could have been taken to the next level. For example, injuries. You had your injury, he had his hand injury, and that what he mentioned, that was a point of commonality. But maybe you guys didn't take that conversation to the next level. And maybe it was just more like, oh, you had an injury, you broke something, I broke something. What he was trying to say was like, you know, when I had my hand injury, when I broke my hand, it really made me realize how much I appreciated my mobility and just getting around. And you had the same sort of feeling.
Yeah.
But then I guess this conversation just ended at that. I didn't go much further beyond that.
No.
Okay, interesting. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best date of your life, and 1 being a freaking nightmare, you want to leave within the first 5 minutes, how would you rate this date?
Like a 4.
Okay, that's not bad.
So only 2 below Matt.
Only 2 below Matt.
Oh, God. I didn't think of that. Oh.
You're like, I gotta redo my rating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Relative to Matt's date.
Oh, no. I should put more gap in between those two.
Okay, well, you already committed to 6 for Matt, so what would Beau be?
Oh, that sounds like a
Do you want to move
2.5, or can I move Matt up to 7?
Yeah, okay, move Matt up to 7.
And we'll put Beau at a 3.
Okay, that's good. That's a good compromise.
If he asked you out, what would you say?
No.
Oh,
But he also said the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did say the same.
Yeah.
Would you ask her out again? I
don't see any reason to. However, if I ever were to see her again, I think it would be very friendly, and I'd want to know how she is and how she's been and what's going on. But that's one of the great things about living in San Francisco, though. See, like in Indianapolis, your choices of dates are so few and far between.
True.
You can really get hung up on somebody's willing to go out with me. That's fantastic. They seem reasonable enough. And then if it doesn't work, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to wait like 3 more months to find somebody. But here in San Francisco, hey, we didn't quite mesh. That's okay. But you seem like a really interesting, nice person. And if I see you around, I'm going to give you a high five.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best date of your life, what would you rate this date?
I would rate this date as a 3.
Okay.
Yes. A very fast way to spend $110.
Okay, so you paid for the date.
Yeah, sure, of course.
So he said he said there were 4 red flags, and I'll let him speak for himself.
So about 12 minutes into it, we're talking about like, how did this happen? How did you get set up with this blind date? And I described my story of knowing you, working with you, and you looking for somebody to do this. And she had a similar story, but she said like, oh, so I just figured I'd do the favor for a friend. I was like, oh, okay, doing a favor for a friend, sure.
I don't know if that was taken out of context or...
I think that was taken out of context. I think I said that I've known them from the show, and we've been friends, or like I know them through friends. Like I didn't want to say like I wrote in and I wanted them to set me up on a blind date, but I tried to make it not. I do not think I said favor.
Okay. So he said right off the bat, when you said something along the lines of that, he was like, oh, okay, I guess she's not really into this. Okay. And then the second red flag he saw was you said you moved to Australia for an Australian man. And he said,
Australians are kind of known as being rugby player type of men type of guys. And I was like, if he's that type, I'm much more of like the way I like to dress, like street smart. I like to wear a jacket. I do not sit in a bar, like a sports bar, can't stand them. With the TV there, with like people watching the game. I want to interact and talk with people. It's part of my upbringing. Like,
so you're not like a man.
No.
We actually work with a lot of Australians on our show. He's like, I know I'm not that type of guy. So he's like, I already knew that
really
I wasn't
a red flag.
It's not really a red flag for him.
That's
for
just
him.
Yeah.
So
is all Australians the same?
Well,
a big
they all think
generalization.
Americans are the same.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's a pretty big generalization.
So what would be your response to that?
Well, kind of the same thing. Not all Australians are the same. And I mean, when you get out, I'd say a lot of people's experience with Australians is when they're off and traveling and having a good time. But I mean, we're obnoxious Americans, quote unquote, when we're out doing traveling and things like that. So as someone who's lived in Australia and had like a very deep connection with someone, I don't think that should be a red flag.
And then number 3, he said,
we go to another restaurant, and she had a friend that was working there. When the friend came over, she's like, "Hey, how you doing? Yeah, this is my friend Beau." And so I was like, "Yeah, all right." Yeah. Just not blind date, not set up, not date or anything. Just like very clearly, yeah, this is my friend.
I mean, I would have done the same thing to Matt. I would have done the same thing to any guy I was on my first date with. I don't know.
You're not gonna be like, oh, this is my blind date
Yeah,
that I just met.
I wasn't gonna be
or
like,
just don't put a label on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could have done that, but I really didn't even think about it.
Got it. And then red flag number 4 for him was when you guys said goodbye. Apparently, you gave him a hug without eye contact and just pretty much walked away.
That was when we were leaving. Hey, thanks so much. Good night. Yeah, nice time. And a very polite hug, but zero eye contact. Beelined it, turned eyes, and walked. I was like, oh, well, all right.
Oh, okay.
How do you give eye contact while you're giving a hug? That's my question. Can you tell me?
Maybe when the hug breaks. I don't know. I'm trying to think about it.
I don't know. I gave him a hug.
Yeah, that's true.
I do consider all these things overthinking, but that's my opinion.
Right.
I don't know how else you would leave it. I think we both knew that it wasn't going to go anywhere, so I'm not sure what more he would have wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what did we learn from these 2 dates? So there are a couple things I want to talk about. I just love this because you just don't know the impression you're giving off on a date. Taking a date to the next level of having a deeper connection doesn't necessarily mean asking more questions, but it means showing more sides of who you are. And I think you and Matt sort of lucked out because you had the opportunity to crash this party. And in fact, he was very impressed that you were that girl that was able to and wanted to crash this party.
But he also did say he suggested a walk because he likes to get out of his
true.
element.
Yeah.
So
That's
he did
true.
take that control a little.
Yeah.
And changing the environment. So it's not like your typical date, like you said, at a bar. But if your date with Matt just stopped at the bar.
I have thought about that.
Yeah. And what would that have been like?
And I talked it out with a few friends. And it would have been the type of date where no red flags, he was nice, potentially would go on a second date, but probably wouldn't go out of my way for it.
Oh my God, how many times have we been on these dates?
know.
A gazillion times. We hear it all the time. You go on a good enough date. Like, I'll go on a second date. But there was nothing memorable. And what made it memorable was he suggested something that got you out of a normal environment. And then you suggested something that put both of you sort of like in a very spontaneous situation.
But I think some of it's just time also, because if you had just jumped into the Hayes Valley, like outdoor with the party, that would have also been weird.
Yeah.
Because then you wouldn't have gotten to know each other.
So it's like you just kind of have to expect that maybe the beginning is going to have a little like bit of the bumps. And if you are interested in someone, it's worth kind of trying to see how much you can push it.
Yeah.
Very true.
And what I glean from your date with Beau is that one, I think what does make Beau a little refreshing for me is that he's obviously not used to date talk. So he doesn't know what are the normal things to talk about on a date.
He kind of did mention that this was the first blind date he's been on. And he did ask me if it gets exhausting dating. Like, do you just go through the same conversation? And is it the same thing over and over again? It's like, because sometimes it just seems that way. And I mean, I agreed with him. And I said, you kind of just have to try to make it more creative. And from the show, I've also taken, like, when I go out on dates, like, what do I want to do? Like, what restaurant do I want to go to? Or what event do I want to go to? And just try to bring that person into that instead of just having the typical, like, drinks. And
But
then
I think though, like at the end of I know like people give like, oh, the what do you do for work, like that a bad rep. But at the end of the day, you're trying to get to know someone. And most of us, not everyone, is spending a good part of our waking life at work. That is a part of who you are. So yeah, it might seem like small talk, but at the end of the day, like you kind of need to have some small talk. It's a combination of like getting the facts out, but then also just like hanging out like you would with like a friend and just having like more of a playful conversation and other conversations too.
But what does make the situation different is that you guys didn't meet online. You knew nothing about him, and he just skipped right to let's skip the small talk.
Right.
When the small talk was very necessary.
But that's what I mean. Like it's hard to go really deep without having any baseline.
What did you learn about yourself after these 2 dates? What are some takeaways, Shelby?
takeaways. Well, Beau picked up right away that I wasn't into the date, so maybe that I'm not that good at hiding my emotions.
This is what I learned about you, Shelby, which is I think you're almost too easygoing, and it makes you forgettable. Because when we talked to Matt, we said, oh, for the week and a half you're going to be gone. Did you think about, are you going to contact Shelby? He's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I just assumed that I may contact her when I get back. But I told her I was going to be busy. So it wasn't like he was going to make an extra effort, because I think you are so easygoing and chill about it. Like, oh, contact me or not, be late or not, show up or not. And maybe sometimes you just need to set a little bit more of like a, not strict, but be more like, this is what I would prefer. Here are my preferences. If you're gone for a week and a half, I would appreciate maybe a text here and there. Or maybe
or
a
even
phone
like
call.
I just love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I had a really good
hear
time.
From you while you're gone.
Yes, yes. Because you hear this in San Francisco all the time, because people are always traveling. They meet, there's great connection, and then someone's gone for a week, and then nothing happens after that. It just fizzles. I think a lot of times in dating is that we set ourselves up for disappointment. We just assume that the other person will reach out, or we just assume that after they go away for a while, we might hear from them, but then you refer back. I thought we had a really good connection. Did something happen while this, like, was the connection not real? In your case with Matt, at least we know from both of your sides, the connection was there. That's real. We rarely get this kind of feedback on dates, but we can validate that your connection was real. So I would hate to see this connection not being explored a little bit more.
Well, I feel, at least with him, I feel pretty confident that I will hear from him. I genuinely feel like he will, but also I am not totally against just like being like, hey, hope you're like having a good trip.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And maybe, I throw him another text when he comes back.
And then that's that.
Well, I mean, obviously you're not going to keep texting if he doesn't respond, but like, I don't know, I guess it's more just like having empathy of someone else's situation more. But the other side.
I get it. I think it's good to have a difference of opinion, because I do feel like no matter how busy you are, no matter how caught up with life you are, if you are into someone, you make time for them. Even if it's just a simple text, like, I'm really busy, but so good to hear from you. Done. That takes 5 seconds.
Agreed.
It takes 2 minutes to take a shit. It takes 5 seconds to send a text message. It's not that fucking hard.
I agree. Yes.
That's all I have to say. I feel very strongly about this. But I think let's get back to Shelby and like why we think that these dates aren't going, to the next level. And it sounds like you're, like you said, you're really great dater. You're really good at the date talk. But maybe it's just finding ways to take that to a more in-depth conversation. And maybe it's just like what happened with Matt. Again, I think it like timing wise, it happened. It was like perfect for you guys to be in that situation that had like Burning Man in it. It was like perfect situation, actually. Yeah. Burning Man, the party, being spontaneous and dancing and making out. Bam, that happened really well. But if, let's say you and Matt don't work out, with other dates, what are some ways you can also take that like bar date conversation to another level?
Well, it's actually interesting. I went on a date a couple weeks ago as well, and it went really well. We had dinner, but I noticed we both started opening up more. We were just walking down Mission, and he didn't know the neighborhood as well, and we were just walking and talking, and I think that really, it's just kind of, I think maybe like just moving as a physical therapist and just like moving and getting your body going, and just like when you're just sitting and stagnant and looking at the same thing, or like there's just not a lot of, like at some bars there's lots of stimulus, but it's kind of like you just need to change your environment.
I think what's really great about your conversation with Matt is it sounded like you guys bonded over a lot of like similar interests, which is actually one of the reasons that we set you up with him. So I want to thank Sasha Silverberg, who's the matchmaker that helped do this. But that was part of the reason, because a lot of stuff what you said, you guys had a lot of those shared interests. But the reality is probably like 5 dates down the road, if you're still just talking about Burning Man, it's going to get boring. So I think it's great to start that way, but it's like, how do you build on it? So it becomes more about like you as a person and you being vulnerable with what you're looking for with him and having that bond together, opposed to just like, oh, we like listening to music and going to Burning Man. Like,
I think what we can learn from this, all of us, is that when we have these date-ish conversations, is to find opportunities to ask more of like the next questions versus like, what do you do? Where do you live? What did you do this? What do you like to do? It's more like why. And I think like what one of the themes that I'm hearing from this is like this idea of passion. And you're very passionate about your job, and you and Matt were both very passionate about Burning Man, and I think that was a source of connection. But I think with Beau, there were points of connection that could have connected you two based on passion, but he did not show it to you. So therefore, there was like no opportunity for that. And I think that's what makes a conversation more deep, is when you bond over the passion of something, not so much what that thing is. It doesn't even matter.
Did you talk about work with Matt?
Yes.
Sort of.
No, we did, because we talked about his filmmaking, and then I told him what I did.
Did you really get passionate about it, or was it more just like, this is what I do?
I usually go, I mean, it's a lot of explaining. You have to explain what I do, because people don't totally understand it, because it's such a small specialty. So I definitely went in depth with that. And he went in depth with like different projects that he was doing. It's exhausting, but he loves it and he thrives off of it and things like that.
But see, okay, so that's interesting, because you got that from him, but neither he or Beau got that from you. Neither of them talked about your work at all. And it feels like that's so much of who you are. It shapes so much of who you are. And for some reason, neither of those two got that from you.
And actually, reading between the lines with Matt, I think like some of maybe his, again, not red flags, but concerns was like, does she have like super passionate activities? So I think showing that actually could be a huge selling point, and like, just not even selling point, but just like, oh, we have this in common, even if we're not passionate about the same things, but we like are doing this type of stuff in our lives. Like showing more depth, I think would actually be something that would really go a long way.
It sounds like you want a deeper connection, and these guys definitely want that with you. But what you're showing them, it's just the way our society is. You have curly blonde hair. That already signals that you're fun and lighthearted and you're easygoing and just a cool chick, right? But I think what's going to get you to the next level is showing more sides of who you are. You need to tell people why you're so passionate about the work that you do. And I think people need to see that and know that you're more than just a curly-haired, blonde, beautiful girl who is easy to get along with and a great conversationalist. It has to be beyond that. I love it. I love it. This is why we do this, because it's so much fun. I feel like we could talk about this forever. But I think, it's like, you already got the first step that's always so hard for people, which is you already got the first step of meeting people. You have no problems talking to people, talking to strangers, I'm sure. You're fine with that. But it's just showing the other side of you, that what are you really passionate about? What is Shelby really about? Well, we can't wait to hear about what happens with Matt when he gets back in about a week and a half. We'll do another update, check in then. I hope. This was a really fascinating conversation. I just love getting the two sides of the story.
Me too.
Because you walk away from a date and you think one thing, but then you hear another thing, and then you're like, oh, if I had known, I would have done something differently.
But then there's also something really nice about that date like you and Matt had, that you both just kind of walked out and you were like, we're going to do this again.
Yeah.
Like, we know this is going to happen.
And I mean, I'm not gonna, I was surprised. Like, I like, you know, because I said the first in the bar was, I was just like, oh, this is fine. And then I walked away with like, that's really cool. That was cool. I was happy with that.
That's another takeaway, but
very
maybe
smiley.
Like you said, like you kind of took your friends to like get you out of just like
inside my head.
Yeah. Be like, okay, we're on a date together. How is this going? Not just, this isn't just about me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great takeaways. Okay, let's wrap this up before we talk about a whole other topic. Hey, do you want to be set up on a blind date? We love this shit. Let's set everyone up on blind dates. And then the only caveat is you have to come to and talk about your date on the show in a very honest way. But that's okay. I think that's what makes us grow as people, and that's what makes us date better and smarter, which is the whole motto of Dateable. Okay, on that note, we're gonna just say our goodbyes. Thank you, Shelby, for doing this.
Thank you.
I had a great time.
We're gonna do another update in like a week and a half or 2 months or whatever it may be. But we love to know what happens with you and Matt.
Yeah, we might follow up.
We might do a little follow up later as well. Thank you again, Shelby. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Beau, for going on dates with Shelby and also telling us your honest feedback and just being like chill about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, thanks for doing this.
So the rose went to Matt.
The rose went to Matt for now, and I hope he earns it and keeps it. If you like to be set up with Beau, Beau is available.
Very worldly.
He's very worldly. He does great impersonations of all different sorts of things and people. So he's really good at that. And he speaks fluent Mandarin, which is really impressive. Okay, on that note,
Stay dateable.
Your action item for this week is to take inventory of how your dates usually go. Do you go on consistent, good enough dates, but nothing too stand out or memorable? Do your conversations flow, but don't exactly go deep? Decide on that one thing you could improve upon and try it out on your next date. Maybe it's just simply asking more follow-up questions, such as, why?
If you didn't know already, we have a revamped website with articles, videos, and content all about modern dating. You can also find our premium Why series, where we dissect, analyze, and offer solutions to some of the most common dating conundrums. We've had some great feedback about how actionable these episodes are, so check them out on our website or iTunes Music. Also, visit the site today to see the latest about coaching, where we connect you with Dateable-approved experts to help with everything from dating profile reviews, coaching, and even gathering real feedback about your dating style in a personalized and affordable way. To connect with us, visit dateablepodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under Dateable Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and auto-download the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player so you never miss an episode.